Good evening, everyone. Today we are doing part two of our interview with Joan Ruddell. She is a clinical lab researcher with over 40 years of experience, not only on the research side, but also on the receiving side of the the inflammation process. And you know how I'm sure you were blown away by her story. If you have not listen to part one, I strongly urge you to listen to it before you listen to this part, because today is part two, where Joan is going to cover a little bit more about exactly what is inflammation and what happens when this inflammation just keeps progressing in our body. So welcome, Joan. So tell us a little bit about what exactly is inflammation.
Well, thank you, Lillian. Inflammation is a normal reaction of the body when we are assaulted with something like a virus, or we've cut our hand, and immediately the inflammation starts, and so the body responds through immune response in terms of a virus or an infection, or in an injury, it'll come to the site of the injury and start a whole cascade of events like plugging the bleeding and repairing the skin and all that sort of thing. So that's a very healthy response in a normal, healthy body. The problem is that inflammation, if it's left unchecked, it can turn into chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the result. It's the result of a pathway that I'll briefly touch on that causes a lot of oxidative stress in your cells. And it's due to the fact that you're not getting rid of the stressor. So if you're constantly surrounded by toxins or bad air, bad diet, for a long time, your body can usually handle a little bit of that. But if it's chronic and it's constant, the cells of the body can't handle that. So what happens is in our cells, that turns into chronic inflammation, and there's a whole process of when the tissues are renewed in your body and your cells are not cleaning themselves up properly. There's a very bad response that happens, and that is known as chronic inflammation. And that chronic inflammation is at the root of 3 out of 5 deaths worldwide. 3 out of 5, all the deaths in the world are the results of diseases caused by chronic inflammation, diseases such as diabetes, stroke, cardiovascular disease, pulmonary disease. So we want to have a closer look at that and see if there's things that we can do to prevent that, or at least stop that disease process, or slow it down, because that's all related to where we don't want to go when we're aging. We don't want to be sick and frail and in a wheelchair and not able to breathe and with oxygen attached and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more now. But the problem, I'm specifically talking about osteoarthritis. And those of you who have very painful joints, you know that you need to know that your joints are under a huge assault with inflammation, chronic inflammation, and it's causing all the tissues around your joints to be badly affected, so that your joints dissipate, the bone deforms, the cartilage disappears, your ligaments and tendons, the collagen out of those units disappear, you get stiff, and you're debilitated. So that's what we're talking about.
Yes. So I've always been like on the with a preventive mindset. So how can people know early on? Because a lot of these things that you mentioned, right? Heart attack. Well, people have a heart attack. To me, it's like, okay, it's already too late. Like you're already so advanced in the process. And I'm assuming with osteoarthritis, once you lose your cartilage, once you have all those your deformed joints and things like that, then it's much harder to find a palliative versus, what. So in a nutshell, what would be some alerting signals, right? That it's almost like the red light on your engine on your car. Like we wish we would have a little red light engine saying like, hey, you better check on this. So are there some things that we can do preventively, but also what would be some signs that this chronic inflammation is
Yes,
starting before it goes, you know?
I'll tell you some signs that the body is suffering from chronic inflammation, and that's achy joints, high blood pressure, um, feeling very tired, depressed, not getting enough sleep, not being able to stay asleep. Your brain isn't taking care of that sleep flush that it needs to do, and it's sleeping. And we all suffer from that these days. And being under chronic stress is another problem. So learning how to meditate, how to eat the proper diet, get your right sleep, pay attention to your circadian rhythm, go to bed at the same time every night. Our circadian rhythm goes along with when the sun sets and when it rises in the morning. So all our cells respond to that. So our whole body is like a unit of signals that keep us healthy, and it's meant to keep us healthy. But when we keep assaulting it by giving it the wrong kind of food, smoking, drinking alcohol, um, being exposed to toxins and bad water, bad air, exhaust from vehicles, 5G, there's all these things that we really can't escape them in this day and age. So those are kind of the warning signs. You want to look out for that high blood pressure, the aches, the depression, unable to sleep, all of that sort of thing. Those should be signals to you to start having a look at what you're doing on a daily basis to basically help your cells clean up themselves.
I know that you are a master researcher. That's what you've done all your life. So what does the research say about this condition that we're so interested in, the osteoarthritis? What have you found?
Well, I found that osteoarthritis it used to be just a disease where they thought the joints wore themselves down due to overwork, and it was all due to aging. Well, that's not so true anymore. They found that in the structure of the joints, in a place called the synovium, where the synovial fluid is that keeps our joints healthy. When they've done studies on that, they found that it's inundated with oxidative stress, free radicals that cause all kinds of trouble. And so it goes beyond, it goes right into your bone health, your joint health, your health of your ligaments. You get popping around your knees. If you look at osteoarthritis of the knees, you hear that creaking, that popping. That's the sign that your ligaments and tendons are starting to become deficient in collagen. And there's a whole stream of things that work together in our bodies that it's like it's like an orchestra. If you think of an orchestra with everybody has a role to play. And so I'd like to get a little bit into what we call the extracellular matrix. Now, that's a big science word, so we'll just call it the matrix. And if you think of the Hawaiian Islands as cells, when you're flying over top of them and you look down and you see the water that surrounds the islands, well, that is akin to what the extracellular matrix is. It surrounds all your cells and all your structures, and it nourishes them. But it also, if it's not healthy, if there's a lot of free radicals in there, it can cause, it's a major center for where all diseases start in mammals. And we're mammals, so all the major diseases can be traced back to your matrix. So you want to keep that as healthy as possible. So when I looked into my research at PubMed, I found a couple of very surprising things when you pull it all together as the symphony orchestra. The extracellular matrix that surrounds all of our tissues and our cells and our organs, it needs to be healthy. Now, we did find there is one master regulator called NRF2, NRF2 regulator, that is responsible for bringing to signaling to bring out more glutathione and all these very powerful antioxidants in our cells that we can produce ourselves. And the NRF2 pathway, once it's signaled by having too many free radicals in our cells. Once that signaling happens, then that whole antioxidant pathway is activated, and it helps to signal healthy genes that help the cells to clean up. The NRF2 regulator, master regulator, is looked at as the garbagement of the cells. It wants to clean up all that stuff. So with the right diet, exercise, no outside stressors like toxins and chemicals and 5G, without that being around, it works pretty well. But when all of stuff keeps hitting us every day, it's not capable of dealing with all the free radicals caused by our living, our environment, our toxic environment, to be honest, and the toxins in our food and water and air, like I mentioned before. So that's one pathway that's extremely important. The other pathway that's important in our extracellular matrix is the collagen signaling molecules that we have. That's where the collagen in our body resides. Over 30% of our protein in our body is collagen, and it resides in the extracellular matrix. And it signals for new tissue, formation of new tissue, and nerve formation. And as I said before, all diseases can be traced back to the extracellular matrix. So you want these signaling proteins like NRF2 that signal to the nucleus of cells to produce proper genes. And you want the collagen signaling to produce the right kinds of tissues that, for example, if it's collagen in your brain, you want brain tissue, healthy brain tissue, to be signaled and formed through the fibroblasts in the extracellular matrix. And when that's fouled up, then you start to get into trouble. You start to get disease, that chronic disease sets in. If it's a deficiency in your lungs, you're going to get COPD. If it's a cancer problem, that's where the tumors start. With all this toxins hitting us, we're very well aware that we need to take care of this. So the two of them work together. It was interesting for me to find that the NRF2 master regulator is the main antioxidant regulator in the extracellular matrix. So they work together. NRF2 comes in, it keeps your extracellular matrix clean of any of the garbage. It cleans all that stuff up. And the fibroblasts that create the new tissue through your collagen signaling, then you get proper signaling of genes to create good, healthy tissue.
So is there a way to, I don't know what the correct term is, so I want you to explain a little bit more about how, we all know we need to eat healthy and eat from the rainbow and all of that, but it's my understanding that because of what you said of how much toxins we're intaking every day, all our systems are like overloaded, and that's really not happening. So if we were living, let's say 150 years ago, where the world was not as contaminated and so many toxins, so many chemicals, our bodies could do a pretty good job, but now they can't. So is there a way to stimulate this NRF2? And I know that people take collagen, but sometimes I've heard that it's not what you're putting in your body, but it's how much your body is absorbing and being able to utilize. So is there a way that on how to supplement our bodies with the NRF2 and the collagen?
Yes.
Okay.
You can go back into Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, where they've used herbs for centuries. And there's a lot of clues in nature there on how to signal the correct pathways. And they've worked for millennia. So there's been a lot of research in PubMed.gov based on that focus. And they found that there's herbs that will stimulate that NRF2 pathway to get those antioxidants out there and working, and those healthy genes formed from your nucleus of your cells and cleaning out all the garbage. And as far as collagen is concerned, there's different sources of collagen people can take. But it's really important to note that there's 28 different collagens. And in the products that we can buy off a shelf, it's usually type 1 and 2 and maybe type 3, not that often for type 3. So type 1 is great for skin and bone, and type 2 is good for bone. But then there's other types of collagen that are necessary for talking about osteoarthritis specifically, that are other types of collagen are needed to replace that essential cartilage that goes missing between the joints through bad food, wear and tear, natural aging. You start to lose that collagen after age 30, and we don't really replenish what we've lost. It just keeps going down. And when we do actually replenish any part of that collagen matrix for the bone, it's never strong enough to withstand what we put, the pressure we put on with joints. So we want to look, when we're searching for products, and there's so many out there in the market, but I just want you to be aware to have a look for collagens that have several types of collagen, that they're bioavailable. All the collagens now available are reduced to peptides, but they're not as well absorbed as the marine source I found was the best source of collagen. And try to find a marine source that has several different types of collagen. Don't just settle for type 1 or type 2, or the chicken collagens and all that sort of stuff. You want a really good mix. Marine collagens are very bioavailable. They'll absorb quickly through the gut, and you'll get about a 95 to 98% absorption within 3 minutes of taking certain types of marine collagen.
So you say within 3 minutes?
Of taking it. Well, it's hydrophilic, so when you take it into your gut, the water takes it through your stomach acids, protects it by surrounding itself with water, and when it hits your intestine, where it really matters and where that's absorbed into your bloodstream, then it's ready to go. It's just ready to happen, and your body takes it to where it's needed most.
So is it your experience with, so first of all, I have two questions. So is there anything else that you have found that, so now we know we want to, the NRF2, we want the collagen. I don't know if there's anything else that you have found useful. And can people actually, when they get on a protocol like this, can they actually start feeling better?
Absolutely. The other thing I just found the other day when I did another deeper dive is that when you take vitamin D3, make sure that either the product you're taking also has the vitamin D3, magnesium, and boron in it. This is critical for bone health. If you're particularly interested in helping your joints to function better and not hurt so badly and become more functional for you. So those are things to keep in mind when you're choosing a vitamin D vitamin, and with minerals in it. Yes. So yes, when you take them, my experience has been, because I did such a deep dive, and when I looked at NRF2 and all the PubMed publications, and also the collagen research, I became very aware that you can make the wrong choices, or you can make the right choices. So it's entirely up to you. Now, I did choose what I feel is the best, and what I found, because I was bedridden with osteoarthritis and also with fibromyalgia, which is, I feel it affects all the collagen sheath in your body, known as your mesenchymal netting that keeps you together, that gets crinkled once it's injured, or as you age and it hardens. So you want that, fibromyalgia really hurts. It hurts your muscles. And people used to think it was a muscle problem, but it's not. It's the sheath around all your muscles and your whole body that's hurting with fibromyalgia. So what I found when I took two of these, two different products, the other ones weren't available yet, but I take them now, I was able to move quite readily within a very short time, like within less than a month. My body started to function again, out of bed. I was on bed rest, couldn't move. Then I was able to function. And now that done a deeper dive, I found a couple of other products that work extremely well. So, and that's a new collagen I discovered. And then there's the vitamin D3. I take that supplement, and I also take magnesium, and I take boron, but I just found a supplement that has all of these in, because, you know, we're human. We just get tired of taking handfuls of pills and all that stuff. I mean, I want one and done, or, you know, I want as
Easy.
few
We all want easy.
easy. We need easy these days. We do, because it'll overtake us. Our pockets will be full of vitamins to take, you know.
So I want to tell our audience that, in case they don't know, Joan mentions a lot PubMed, and it's so important as a researcher. That is the sources she trusts. PubMed stands for the National Institute of Health Online Library, and only peer-reviewed studies. That means that they have been reviewed by other scientists in that same field, and they've reviewed that the scientific method and the procedures and everything has been done in a let's say very good, following the scientific protocol, and then they're approved. And we've been told by doctors that it usually takes like 4 to 5 years to be able to have a paper or a study approved to be published there. So it's not Google, it's not Wikipedia, it's not, you know, what the neighbor says. It's science, which is what Joan has done. So I know, Joan, that you have specific products that are the ones that you have used, that you have had amazing results. So we want to encourage anyone watching this presentation to please get back to the person who invited you, because they will be able to hand you out the specific protocol that Joan has been using so successfully. And you can see going from bedridden to this wonderful, vibrant, and you know, just so full of knowledge. And also, not only that, but with the kindness in her heart to take the time to share everything that she has learned and all her knowledge through so many years of research with us. So I want to thank you so much, Joan. Please get back to the person who invited you and get all your questions answered, and we can certainly get Joan's protocol, right, Joan?
Yes, I just like to add one more thing that's really important, because aging is something that people don't really look forward to. But I learned this wonderful saying from a dear colleague of mine, and it's true for me. I'm having the aging experience that people dream about. Honestly, I am. So if you want to have that too, get back to
Yes, we
whoever
all
invited you.
do. I know. I see it. You know, I teach a lot of seniors, and we're trying to make appointments for class, and they have to look in their calendar to see when they have doctor's appointments. And I go like, oh my God, like that, no, like that's not, I don't want to live my seniorhood tied to my medical appointments. I want my medical appointments to be a 1 yearly checkup where they say, yeah, everything's looking great. Go on, live your life, keep on doing what you love. And it's what Joan says. We wake up every day renewed, refreshed, ready to go, and doing what we love. So thank you so much, Joan. This has been wonderful. Again, there's a part one. So if you haven't listened to the part one, that would be very useful. And we'll keep doing more of these, because we need to keep on tapping onto all the knowledge that this lady has. Thank you, everyone. Good night.